time next for Media Watch with Nick Rushworth. Good evening, Nick.
Hi to you, Delana.
You're starting out here in France, where the unrest is continuing with the whole Yellow Vest movement. We also have students who've been demonstrating today.
Well, yeah, they're not wearing yellow vests, aren't they? Which is one of the most striking things about them. Those protests going over the last few days. Today, focusing on things like the rising cost of administration fees, a selection process, university admissions generally, high school students concerned, and university students too. Let's go to Toulouse in the south of France, where there were protests. There was a march of 500 students through the city. And here there's one tweet from Guillaume Panetier. And there you can see he's saying they've blocked one road, the protests have blocked one road. And if we just click on the actual video that he is tweeted, we can see actually students, they've stopped one car, they're climbing on it, they're playing a kind of prankster game almost, making life hell for the motorist, and just jumping up and down on it in a kind of protest. What we're kind of seeing, it's like not violence, not a clash that leads to an arrest as such, but this idea of confrontation. Actually, the protests in Toulouse, there you can see the tension there with the students really making life hell for that motorist. But the consequence, just in staying in Toulouse, is one journalist there saying, well, actually, my equipment was taken from me. And there you can see in the picture she's sent, her filming equipment destroyed. She's put it on the ground to film it. And this was done by high school students, journalists threatened, chased after, and again, their life made hell. That was Manon Adu, a journalist in Toulouse. This is another journalist, Manon Roussy. She works for La Dépêche du Midi, one of the local papers in the south of France. And her posting there is of a bus stop that's been destroyed, ironically, with Moët Chandon Champagne there, the image of Christmas that you would want in France, in a way. There she's saying there were 500 people and there was no police presence whatsoever. And she too, she said, it's crazy, c'est hallucinant. I too had to run away. So journalists, the code of practice for journalists to be allowed to do their job is not being respected, as we've said in recent days.
Now let's talk about these protests, because the Yellow Vest movement, I assume, because they remain without a leader, but there's still a lot of support.
There is a lot of support. There's no leader. It's driven by social media largely. We've got perhaps around 20 different demands, all of which remain nebulous. There is no room to negotiate these things without the leader process. Just in terms of support, look at this from the French media reporting on a delicacy, a brioche in the east of the country near Alsace. The Manelé is a kind of brioche in the east of France. And one of the bakers there is putting marzipan yellow vests onto the brioche. And he's actually saying, his name is Fabrice Lentz, and he says, this is my way of joining the Yellow Vest movement. I'm too busy, I can't get out there. But in our part of the world, in Alsace in eastern France, the villages, there is not the kind of transport. They have to go by car. They can't make ends meet. He's charging €1.10 for those marzipan brioche, the same price as the regular brioche. So he's showing solidarity for them. And really what you've got is just this sense of, I think the statistics are 72% of French are saying, yes, we support this nebulous movement of the Yellow Vests, but not necessarily the violence.
Now, you've been looking at some of the cartoons here in France and elsewhere, and obviously it doesn't surprise me that the president, Emmanuel Macron, has been taking a hit.
He has. His popularity has fallen once again in a poll today. He's hovering between 23–26%, which is anything below 30% is really danger territory for him. He needs to get above that. There in this Le Figaro cartoon, he's got his arms spread apart. The body language is, yes, our problem is very simple. Notre problème est simple. We have to give way to something. but at the same time give way on absolutely nothing. So a squaring the circle situation. Everyone looking around the table at him is not happy, just as at the moment no one's happy at all in France. Let's just go to across the channel, the Times of London. Brits now currently having to negotiate with Brexit are also having a miserable time politically, but the Times perhaps taking a step away from Brexit and just asking, is Macron been guillotined already? The rooster, the symbol of France there, decapitated as the headless chicken runs round in circles. Ouch. The Economist front cover actually this Friday is Macron's challenge. And the Economist there, Macron's problems are more with presentation than policy. He has to really re-message this totally and come across as a cooler dude and not aloof, not Jupiterian.
And maybe start talking to the French public. We'll see what happens. Nick, thank you very much for that. Nick Rushworth there with Media Watch.